before it and the square that's just after it, you can relate every aspect in the chart to one of the archetypes. Conjunctions are Aries unless they're balsamic, they're Pisces. Do you know balsamic versus new phase conjunctions? Cool. A yod is Virgo, Scorpio, because Virgo and Scorpio are 150 degrees from the archetypal start point of the chart. It's usually a crisis signature.
So even if the yod in the first chart is not actually...
Exactly. You always relate it to the archetypal chart. Just because their yod is not, say, in their chart going to that place, although ironically here it pretty much is. Yeah, it doesn't matter where the yod is. It relates still to the archetypal zodiac. In fact, you can basically use the archetypal zodiac to explain every form of aspect, every form of archetype, and every issue. You only need to know the 12 things. The rest is just the way the 12 things layer every time. It's just the succession of complexity as you layer 12 on 12 on 12. You can just use that grid. When I was learning astrology, I had the Cosmic Clock by Warren Kenton, the Kabbalist astrologer I first studied with, on the wall. So when I woke up in the morning and before I went to bed at night, I just saw the 12 archetypes drawn on this thing, so I would internalize them. I did it for a few years. So, a yod from the North Node to the Uranus placement to the Aquarius rising, trauma signature. Uranus opposite Saturn in Aquarius, trauma signature. Mercury square the nodal axis, South Node in the 11th house, trauma signature. Pluto balsamic to Uranus, trauma signature. Do we get the feeling there's some trauma going on? You can even take the Neptune, can't you, in the Venus, and square it to the ascendant widely and get a trauma signature if you felt there weren't enough. Now, if what I'm teaching you has any validity for your life and your interest in astrology, then we would expect fairly reasonably this person to have suffered some traumatic experience, would we not? And I would be an absolute idiot if I brought you a chart that looked like this and they hadn't, wouldn't I? No, I'm sorry. I was just, yeah. We're going to expect when we look at a chart that there's traumatic experience here. And we're going to ask and be interested in how and why it applies. Yes.
Brief question. So we just talked about all the signatures. How many layers do you go into? Like Mercury is in Aries, the ruler is Mars, Mars-Sun conjunction, right?
Yes.
How many layers do you go
Well, I mean, I would just stay with these big ones to begin with until you understand it, and then if the layers add something later, then I'm interested in them. Sometimes they really add that extra level of meaning down the line. I mean, why don't I start with some brief suggestions about this chart? I mean, it would be nice if we all had time to just come up and give points of view, but perhaps and we're all a bit tired today, I think. If I read into it a little bit, and then I can tell you a little bit about this person's process, and then I can read a bit more and do it like that. But I really do welcome questions or someone else being brave enough to come up and have a go here, so that's great too. But with Pluto Uranus in the 7th house, you would expect the internalization of persecutory messages from others as a potential source of the trauma. A feeling of alienation in the immediate environment. The immediate environment, most of the time in our early life, being the home. You would expect a feeling of not good enough, and a desire to create relationship, perhaps even a codependent type reliance on it. Pluto Uranus 7th. So as an aside, by the way, as we're going through all the placements, Uranus in Libra in the 7th, or not an aside, an essential point, is to do with trauma in relationships. Sudden traumatic ending of relationships. Extreme codependency. capacity to project enormous amounts of personal material onto the other, or attracting others that project enormous amounts of personal material onto you. Hidden within it, there is a desire to create a new type of relationship. Here we might reasonably expect sudden endings in relationships, strong negative messages from others, Pluto Uranus opposite Saturn, an issue with authority, question mark trauma with the father. This was a lady recommended to me by a health professional therapist who had the previous year come to me for an evolutionary astrology reading and found it interesting and realized the work I was doing. And they could only do limited session therapy with people who are really struggling. And after that, in some bizarre twist of fate, she gave this person my number as someone she could potentially follow up with. That was about 4.5 years ago. Talking to her, you realized the image I used in the first meeting, and this is before I'd seen her chart. So this is an example of someone I was working with before I saw the chart. I used the image with her as we tried to negotiate or contextualize what we were doing together, that she had some kind of loaded pantry or storehouse, just like bags of stuff behind her. I could almost literally see it behind her. And the bags were not just there, but they were unsorted. So it wasn't just that they were a full room behind, but all the bags were spilled and unsorted. And about 3 years after I said that to her, she said to me one day, well, at least feels like we've opened all the bags, even if we haven't found a place for them on the shelves yet.
Good job.
We spent a lot of time sort of negotiating. Instead of just having this one introduction session, we had 6, because she had some serious psychiatric or mental health issues from the past, and also just trust on both sides was something we were going to have to negotiate. But I remember when we did start working, and maybe this was a therapeutic step, a naivety, I don't know. If I'd seen the chart, would I have done it in this way? And it's quite soon into it I see the chart, but not at this point. I did a simple relaxation body scan exercise one day to calm her down, to help her speak about what she was talking about. Just literally, feel the top of your head, it's relaxing, your temples relaxing, breathing. At the end of it, she said she felt like chained. She felt imprisoned. I said, yeah, it feels like a lot of your heart energy and real joy in life is imprisoned, like the good, attempting to find a shape to that image therapist I was being, 8:30 the next morning, desperate phone call, I'm scrambling out of bed, pick it up. It's this person crying on the answering phone. I pick it up. I can't go into work today. Oh, hi, that image won't leave me alone. What was, I'm trying to remember the image. An hour and a half later, we're having an unscheduled emergency 2-hour session that morning. And she's proceeding to tell me how she's been chained to the cellar wall, and her father brings her food. And then her father uses her sexually, and then goes back up to his wife, who lives in the upstairs of the house. And I'm making all these notes, the assiduous therapist I am, growing sense of, how could I have missed this? I know we haven't been working together that long, but where did I miss this in our history taking? When I took her life story, how did I miss this? I'm still thinking like this. And I'm like 25 minutes in and I'm thinking, there's no way. And I'm staring in the moment, I'm realizing this is a past life memory. And this is a lady who doesn't believe in past lives, had no prior interest in past lives, we have done a somatic relaxation exercise to help her be able to, yeah. But when I did look at the chart, you see Mercury skip step, applying back to a south node in the 11th. You see the Saturn in Aquarius. When you engage her body, you go into the trauma, and then Mercury resolving via the south node, her own need to go back and recollect and speak it. It's clear as a bell. The resolution node to the Mercury skip step is the south node in Capricorn in the 11th. To speak it and take responsibility for it. She's just enacting it. Quite soon after this experience, by the way, I have the chart details and we're working with it in a, you know, this lady had never expressed an interest in this. She had no belief in past lives. As she was telling me the experience, she was simply in it to the extent that she was somatically writhing when she was hurt in the chair. And by complete coincidence, I'd done my alchemical hypnotherapy training and literally finished it a few months before this experience.
Saturn's widely square the moon, which is the ruler of the North Node, and that's a body too, and the emotional body.
Yeah, exactly. Saturn's widely square the moon, the ruler of the North Node.
Which is also square Uranus.
Yes. Which is also square the Pluto-Uranus. The Pluto-Uranus, so in fact, this is another trauma sequence. In fact, come on, let's just acknowledge it for a moment. Every single placement in this chart, pretty much. I mean, there's a yod from the Mercury Aries to the Uranus Virgo. The moon square the Pluto-Uranus. You can drag in the Saturn to that as a T-square. Every aspect, the family, the relationship picture, internal persecutory voices, what we could call persecutory anxiety. It's all there, and it all was there in this person's life.